Okay, so many people, we get these questions all the time. People participate in a foundation course, which is normally 3 days of theory, 3 days of practical, so 6 days total. And then they put the horse through the groundwork program, and then they return and they say, okay, so what now? I'm going to school the horse under saddle. But what am I going to do? Because just like with the groundwork program, we do not train horses arbitrarily, by chance. Everything is planned. One thing builds on another. Everything is planned down to the smallest little detail. So, but when people are inexperienced or never schooled a horse, usually they try a little bit of this, they try a little bit of that, they try to teach them this, but it doesn't really work. And because we don't have a plan, there's no red thread. And we need a plan. And as from the ground, we need to put the foundation. Once we put the horse through the groundwork program, the foundation, and then we mount the horse, we're going to start schooling the horse under saddle. We need to put the foundation on the horse. But when we're inexperienced, we want to skip a lot of the steps, levels, and go straight to maybe changing leads or doing pirouettes or whatever. But that doesn't work. Then we're going to end up in a fight with a horse. So how do we go about it? What do we teach the horse first? So now we mounted the horse. We're out there in a outdoor arena or an indoor arena if the weather is bad, or preferably out there in a big, huge field. Well, first we need forward energy. We cannot steer the boat unless unless the horse goes forward, unless the boat is moving, has energy, forward energy. So how do we go about then making the horse soft? For example, we need control. We need to be able to control each body part individually. We should be able to, if we start from the front, we should be able to start to first from a standstill, then a walk, then a trot, and then a canter. Have such control of the head that we can put it down close to the ground, that we can eventually lope figure eights with the nose 45, 90 degree to the right on a right lead. And of course the rein is totally slack. The horse is so soft, it should be like a wet towel. We give the horse a rest, and then we pick up the left lead, and the nose is about 45, 9 degrees to the left in a figure eight, so it'll be counter canter, and the nose to the outside once we've completed a few circles with the nose to the inside. But where do we begin? We cannot begin there. That's much, much, much further down the line. So we need complete control of the head, so we can put the head whatever we want. And the horse is soft. That should be the aim anyway. The horse should be as soft as a wet towel, and confident, calm, in harmony with the rider. And then we have the shoulders. We should be able to move the shoulders any which way we want, even later on at a gallop, at a lope, at a canter. We need to be able to control the middle section, the ribs, between the shoulders and the butt. We need to be able to control the hip, the butt, individually also from the rest of the body. But how do we achieve this? How do we achieve this feather lightness, where the horse is feather light? Basically, your aim should be, if you have an audience, they basically should not be able to see your signals, your communication with the horse, no matter what it is that you want to do. And then we have the 4 feet. We need to be able to control each foot individually. And also, it needs to be instinct. One needs to practice and aim for that. So one automatically, without thinking, whether you're walking, trotting, or galloping, signals to the horse at the very right moment. And people always ask, but how come your horses are so sensitive, so feather light? Well, it comes with experience, timing, feeling, the correct energy, and it comes with a foundation. Because at the end, you should be able to do everything with the horse without a headstall and reins. They should be, the communication should be there. So how do we teach the horse to move its hip, for example, to turn on the forehand? Well, it's very, very, very easy if you have the right timing. Because if I, so to speak, signal to the horse, let's say when it is on the ground, it's impossible then for the horse to move. But if you signal to the horse, whatever it is you're going to do, you're going to stop him, you're going to change leads, you're going to turn on the haunches, turn on the forehand. If you do not apply, so to speak, the signal, if you do not communicate with the horse at the very split-second right moment, he cannot do what it is that we're asking the horse. So, and in the end, you should be able to basically, at a canter, at a lope, at a gallop sideways, left and right, with that horse. But of course, if we start there, we're going to end up in a big fight with the horse. We never ask the horse for something that we think that he might not be able to handle. Rather, I ask too little, so that I always set the horse up for success. And this comes with experience, because we do not want to, the horse will always do what you want if you have the experience and the timing and the skill, and you're not asking for too much. And that is a very common problem when we are inexperienced, that we ask the horse to do something that he or she is not prepared for. So it's kind of like taking a small child who has yet to learn the whole alphabet and tell the child, give like an order, read this book. I mean, it doesn't matter how much we yell and scream and jerk and on this kid. This child is just going to be scared, going to have a really, be very negative when it comes to reading a book, because the child, we need to start from the beginning. First, learn the entire alphabet, then put a word together like cat or dog or whatever, and then start slowly reading books. It's the same thing with the horse. So, and I talked about turn on the hindquarters, which is in the end will become a pirouette or a spin, depending on the owner. Because all these horses, they go through the same groundwork program. We train them, put the same foundation on them under saddle, and also later in front of a cart, like some kind of wagon, a speed cart, whatever, depending on what kind of horse it is and what discipline the owners into. It's later on that we specialize the horses. Is it a pure dressage horse, show jumping, harness racing horse? Because I ride the harness racing horses too, to make them soft and feather light, etc., and to become much easier, more pleasant to drive the horse, and he can perform better. I even do that with heavy draft horses. Or is this horse is going to, so to speak, only become a family horse? But all the horses go through the same program up to a certain level. So how do we, for example, then, okay, the end goal is to be able to complete 360s, pirouettes, with that horse. But how do we get there? Because that's one of the hardest things to do when one is inexperienced. Turn on the forehand, for example, is really easy. Teaching the horse to first walk sideways, laterally, and shoulder in, shoulder out, half pass, etc. That is a little bit more difficult. Takes a little bit more experience. But how can we make this easy for the horse? Something you can begin with already, basically you could already start the first ride, basically. We don't do that, but because we set the horse up for success. And we just want to plant seeds. So how do we get the horse to actually move his or her front end around and be stationary with the back feet? And people ask me, how do you get the horse so feather light when you do a 180 or a 360, whether you call it a rollback or a half pirouette or a full pirouette or a spin? Well, this is something that we go through at the continuation courses when the horse has been through the foundation, the groundwork program. I teach people how easy it is, and this is also something to start building that pirouette, which is the end goal, but it's much further down the line. You could basically start teaching that horse, plant the seed, the very first time the horse carries a rider. If you know how to set the horse up and utilize barriers, it's really easy to plant that seed and for the horse to understand what it is that you want. But if I just put it, like a sharp bit and tie his mouth shut and hang on for dear life and try to get and pull the reins really hard and try to get the horse to turn, he's just going to turn on the forehand, he's going to turn in the middle, or he's going to start rearing up, he's going to start running backwards, and he's not going to be this wet towel. He's going to be more like a 2x4, and his head is going to come up, and everything is just going to go sideways. So anyway, all of these questions, we cannot go through that here. We need to meet you personally. Come participate in a continuation course. And first, just like the foundation course, when we put the horses through the groundwork program, you come, you listen, I will explain in detail. We go through it without a horse, just like I do when we in the groundwork program. And then you watch me or one of my students, either way, who is far enough along, when I school a horse under saddle, one or more horses, and we break it down into details. We focus on one thing at a time, and you get not just to listen, and we go through it in the arena or basically out in the big field, whatever, how I do it, where I begin, how we build, how do I plant that seed to get the horse to understand to step sideways, to move the hip, to give the nose, to start backing up, to turn on the hindquarters, etc. And then once you watched me with at least one horse, then you have a picture in your head. Okay, now I understand what you do with the reins, what you do with your calves, what you do with your weight. And now I understand how you set it up. And many people over the decades been surprised how easy it is once you know how to do it and how to use barriers, for example. It could be the barn, the wall. It could be a fence. It could be a big bush, a big tree. And I'll explain to you at the clinics how I utilize different barriers, either out there in the forest, along a logging road, or in a field, or a fence, and then it becomes very clear, and it's very easy to get the horse to understand what it is that we want, because the last thing we want to do is try to forcing the horse to do what we want. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And one of the foundation things is to be able to walk, trot, and canter, lope, even gallop perfectly round circles. So let's say you have you're in the arena or in a big field, and there are no hoof prints. You should be able to take any horse, walk, trot, and lope, canter, gallop. Let's say in diameter, 20, 30 meter circle. Could be a 10 meter in diameter. And it should be perfectly round, like this table here. And you should be able to ride in the same footprints, whether you walk, trot, or lope, canter the horse. So there should be just basically one trail around that is perfectly round. And the horse should be bent with the circle. So if the circle is, let's say, 30 meter in diameter, compared to, let's say, a circle that is 10 meter in diameter, or maybe even 5 when the horse is much further along, the horse should be bent with the circle. And you should be able to sit there like a passenger. The horse should stay between the reins. The reins are slack. Your legs are just, your feet are just resting in the stirrups. And the horse just stays on that circle. Because that's the foundation. And if I cannot walk, trot, and lope perfect circles with that horse, and that horse stays between the reins, well, I basically can't do any of the other stuff. Not to any higher degree anyway. And it's the same thing, of course, with a straight line. You should be able to aim the horse, aim for a tree across the field, and that horse should be straight as an arrow, but not stiff, soft as a wet blanket, as a wet towel. And that horse should not drift left or right. So how do we achieve all this? Well, this is also something that we go through at the continuation courses. So if you have any questions, just contact us, send us an email. You can call us, whether we are visiting Sweden or we are abroad somewhere. So, and the spurs, people ask me about the spurs, because we've had people, as you can see, my spurs are just a very smooth wheel. I mean, you can't even. So Sylvia and I've had people not too long ago even asked, yeah, but how can you train horses with those spurs? You know, because they're not sharp. Yeah, but then you have no clue what the hell you're talking about. Then you're totally incompetent. If you basically need very, very sharp spurs to train the horse, this is an aid, just like the rein, like any kind of arm extension when we work the horse from the ground. We need to learn how to use spurs and what they're for. The horse should not be afraid of anything. If that horse is afraid of your hand, the rein, or if he's afraid of the spur, he's not going to be soft as a wet towel. So a lot of people, they have no clue what the spur is there for. 99.999% of the time when I'm mounted, I don't even have to use them. So, but we go through that also at the continuation courses, schooling the horse under saddle, what the spurs are for, how we use them, when we use them, and what the purpose of the spur is. But this is basically all you need. You don't need those Hollywood spurs, you know, that they're sharp as a butcher's knife. That's bullshit. But all of this we will go through uh, at the continuation courses, schooling under saddle. So I hope you now have a better idea, clearer picture of how I think. And see you at the clinics. Thank you very much.